Welcome to Reasonably Catholic. In this season 3, we will deal with the moral questions and the moral teaching of the Church. Today we will look at what does the Church say about artificial birth control or contraception. In 1968, Pope Paul VI issued his landmark encyclical Humanae Vitae. In Latin it means human life, which re-emphasized the Church's constant teaching that it is always intrinsically wrong to use contraception to prevent any human beings from coming into existence. The transmission of human life is a most sacred role in which married people collaborate freely and responsibly with God the Creator. It always has been source of great joy to them, even though it sometimes entails many difficulties and hardships. Contraception is any action which, either in anticipation of the conjugal act or in its accomplishment or in the development of its natural consequences, proposes, whether as an end or as a means, to render procreation impossible. That's Humanae Vitae 14. Basically, it means that any action that is done against the act of procreation is thus called contra, which means against conception, contraception. This includes sterilization, condoms and other barrier methods, spermicides, coitus interruptus, which is called the withdrawal method, the pill, and all such other methods. Even outside the Catholic Church, persons like Martin Luther, John Calvin, and John Wesley were quoted in Charles D. Proven's book, The Bible and Birth Control, which contains many quotes by historic Protestant figures who recognize contraception's evils. Few realize that up to 1930, all Protestant denominations agreed with the Catholic Church's teaching condemning contraception as sinful. At its 1930 Lambeth Conference, the Anglican Church, swayed by growing pressure, announced that contraception would be allowed in some circumstances. Soon, the Anglican Church completely caved in, allowing contraception across the board. Since then, all Protestant denominations have followed suit. Today, the Catholic Church alone proclaims the historic Christian position on contraception. Evidence that contraception is in conflict with God's law comes from a variety of sources. Contraception is wrong because it is a deliberate violation of the design God built into the human race, often referred to as the natural law. The natural law purpose of sex is procreation. The pleasure that sexual intercourse provides is an additional blessing from God, intended to offer the possibility of new life while strengthening the bond of intimacy, respect, and love between husband and wife. The loving environment this bond creates is the perfect setting for nurturing children. The Bible mentions at least one form of contraception specifically and condemns it. Coitus interruptus was used by Onan to avoid fulfilling his duty according to the ancient Jewish law of fathering children for one's dead brother. The biblical penalty for not giving your brother's widow children was public humiliation, not death. But Onan received death as a punishment for his crime. This means his crime was more than simply not fulfilling a duty of a brother-in-law. He lost his life because he violated natural law, as Jewish and Christian commentators have always understood. For this reason, certain forms of contraception have historically been known as onanism, after the man who practiced it. Contraception was so far outside the biblical mindset and so obviously wrong that it did not need the frequent condemnations other sins did. Scripture condemns the practice when it mentions it. Once a moral principle has been established in the Bible, every possible application of it need not be mentioned. For example, the general principle that theft is wrong was clearly established in Scripture, but there's no need to provide an exhaustive list of every kind of theft. Similarly, since the principle that contraception is wrong has been established by condemning when it is mentioned in Bible, every particular form of contraception does not need to be dealt with in Scripture in order for us to see that it is condemned. In Humanae Vitae, Pope Paul VI, when talking about licit means of regulating birth, stated, "Equally to be excluded, as the teaching authority of the Church has frequently declared, is the direct sterilization, whether perpetual or temporary, whether of the man or of the woman. Similarly excluded is every action which, either in anticipation of the conjugal act or in its accomplishment, or in the development of its natural consequences, proposes, whether as an end or as a means, to render procreation impossible. Again, from Humanae Vitae 14. There is no way to deny the fact that the Bible and the Catholic Church has always and everywhere condemned artificial contraception. The matter has already been infallibly decided. The so-called individual conscience argument amounts to individual disobedience. So, was that reasonable? Let us know in the comments section below. And until the next week, bye.